2015 to call a meeting, regularly scheduled meeting with our Wayne County Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. This time we'd like for you to stand and remove your hats, and Mr. Jason Weaver is going to lead us in our invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we come to you today asking you to guide us in the best way you know fit. We ask that you keep us all safe as you got us here, protect us on the way home. We ask everything be done in a timely fashion and good ordinance. In these names we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to move on down to item E, which is the adoption of tonight's agenda.
Before we make an adoption to the agenda, I think we need to make an amendment to the agenda. As previously stated in the commissioners' meeting, they were going to allow us to discuss and have say-so over all issues of recreation, i.e. personnel and those issues. So, and to do that, I don't think we can do that in public according to the law. So I think we need to add an executive session on the agenda after J before adjournment. So I would make a motion that we add an executive session.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Brandon? Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Mr. Parker? Mr. Peel?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving down to item E, we have approval of the minutes. Regular scheduled meeting January 10th, 2015, and call meeting January 30th, 2015.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Mr. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Mr. Peel?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving along to item F, presentations of and announcements. Commissioner Copeland with the J.C. Landing Grant.
Evening, gentlemen.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
All right, give me a minute here. Guys, the reason we're coming before the rec board, the J.C. Landing, is the J.C. Landing right now is under the jurisdiction of the rec board. And I brought Micah Kicklighter, the DDA director with the city, with us. She's going to just kind of give a brief background on what this grant is that we're seeking. The rec department has previously sought this grant. Just real quick, a long-term vision for J.C. Landing, we want to fix it up to become a tourist attraction. Step one, phase one, however you want to call it, is going to be pursuing a Parks and Recreation Trail grant. Right now, this project is in the very baby stages, so to speak, but we have to start somewhere. And our first step is getting approval from the rec department for us to apply for the Parks and Recreation grant. Now, as of right now, this thing's not going to cost the county or the city any money. Micah, the DDA director, will help us write the grant. She deals with grants pretty regular. She's going to give us some insight of it. Phase two, after you guys, hopefully, if you guys give us permission to proceed with this grant, at that time, we will be forming a committee, a subcommittee, a J.C. Land committee, a board, whatever you call it. It will consist of probably one member from this board, members from various boards, leadership wing, people in the community, anybody that's got a passion for fixing J.C. Landing up. If this grant, if we get the grant at that time, I've solicited help from former Congressman Lindsey Thomas. He wants to be involved in it. He's going to be on the committee. He has promised to get corporate support. Jack Brett with Rayonier is interested interested in getting support from Rayonier. What this thing will be, guys, again, this is just in the baby stages of a scope, but we've got Bill Schuman with the city of Jessup that's volunteered his time in order to draw out some plans, which we have to have for the grant. The impact of what this thing could be enormous. It just depends on how much time we have to put into it, how much money we can raise. We've talked ideas about redoing the bake shop down there, having boardwalks from the bake shop to the landing, having entertainment sections, historical sections, having a cabin up there overlooking the river with grant money for kayakers coming in, staying, for meeting rooms, anything for tourist attraction. I'm gonna let Micah Kicklighter just real quick, if you have any questions about what the grant is, just kind of tell you about the grant.
Okay, so Kevin basically covered most of it, and I know Justin had worked on this before, so we do have somewhat of a starting point, which is really good, because this is through the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, so it's a really big grant. They award up to $100,000, and so it is a reimbursement program. So right now, step one would be to, like he said, have the sketches drawn up. We need all of that homework done. Then we can apply with it, and I don't mind putting my time into it. We were a little bit on a time crunch because I just started working in October, so we could not work fast enough to get all of this done. It takes a little bit for the drawings and all of that stuff to happen. And so basically, the program is just to stress the recreational trails, get a trail, and also to make it recreational. So you want to include some of that, like the bars that people work out on and stuff like that. So you're promoting active lifestyles as well as educational. So, working with Rayonier to get the signs and for, this grant is largely based on community support. So getting those support letters, and I'm working with the farmers market and with the grants that the grant that they won, and they had, over 50 of the community support letters. So it's going to be hugely based on that community support, so we're going to need everybody to be on board with it. And then, other than that, Kevin pretty much covered it. It's pretty, if you read it, it's online. I'm not positive when the next turnaround will be. It may be next year, but that could be a good thing, because we'll definitely need to get all of this done before then, before we apply. We don't want to rush into it and then apply too early.
Again, in closing, this is just a starting process for this thing. Items like this, they take a long time to get going. I'm on the farmer's market board. What did we meet? We probably met for 6 or 7 months before we even got something rolling to apply for a grant. And now, after a year and a half, a year, you're finally seeing some work being done on the farmer's market. Anything like this is a starting process. Again, if you guys vote to allow us to go ahead with this with your approval, we'd also like to have somebody from the board, if any of you guys are interested in being on a subcommittee, that we'll start putting together as soon as we get your approval. Any questions?
I don't have any, so I'd like to ask the board, do I have a motion for Commissioner Copeland to go ahead and pursue and research this grant fund?
I'll make a motion. We support the county in that project.
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. McGill? Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Peel?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Williamson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
President.
you, gentlemen.
Moving on to item G, we have city parks and recreation comments and concerns. We would like, it looks like we've got another good crowd tonight. Certainly would like for you, if you have any statements or concerns that you would like to come and address in open forum and address the board, we are willing to listen to any statements or any ideas that you might have to benefit the entire group. All we ask is you limit your conversation to 2 minutes or less and state your name clearly when you approach the microphone.
What is this for again?
Public participation. Address items of concern, address grievances.
So is this where I should get up and
If you'd like, yes.
Do I step up there? or just-
Yes, sir. Please approach the podium and state your name, please.
My name is Donald Dillinger. I coached the 11 and 12-year-old football team year before last. Out of all the years that I had coached, never ran into a problem until last year with Justin. I was going back to the same team that I had the year before and the year before that, and then I helped Albert for a few years. And my team was taken from me for a few reasons. Said that the rules wasn't clear. The way I read them, it was pretty clear. I wish I'd had them with me, but I don't. Also, I was told that because I didn't have a kid on the team, I was having that team taken from me. I kind of feel like if I didn't have a kid on the team, it was a little better because I didn't show no favoritism. I don't care whose kid it was. I coached yours, Coach Grooms. I didn't show him no favoritism. I really enjoyed it, even after I was told I wasn't going to get a team. I didn't call up none of the kids that I was coaching, tell them not to play. I called, some of them didn't want to play, I still called them up and told them to sign up. Before all this was brought up, I was asked by the rec department to call the kids on the roster. Called all of them, tried to get them all to sign back up. I was doing everything I could for the rec department to help out as much as I could. And then it kind of was like a slap in the face to me to tell me that and it was told to me one time, and I was called back up after the draft, wasted my time, went out there, and then I was told that it didn't matter, that my team was not mine no more. And I have nothing against Trevor Wallace. Me and him, I painted his stroke, would get along fine. And he was only fighting to have a team. But it was my team. The rule said that if I was returning to the same team, the same league, same age level, that it was mine still. Any upcoming coaches had the next choice at a team. If there wasn't another team, they didn't get it. But it was taken away from me after all the time I put in. And I'm not saying that Trevor don't put in a lot of time with the kids, but he done it with the kids coming up. I done it with all kids. I didn't care if they was 5 years old to 15 years old. We went out to the rec department for 2 days a week, worked with them all. Mr. Cooper's grandson was one of them. I can't name them all, but there was probably 15 head out there that I worked with all summer long. Thought I was doing something good, and it was just, you imagine it was just kind of like a slap in the face. I don't have a problem with Justin personally. And I don't care what y'all do, but something just needs to be worked on. If something don't get better, and I know I was told to make this short, but you look at our baseball back in the day, it was a pile of teams in baseball. I don't know how many's in there now, but you have a lot more travel teams in baseball. Well, if something don't happen with a football, we done been looking into getting into the travel football, Pop Warner. And I hate to pull it from, or take anything from our rec department, but if it's just gonna be the buddy system, I just think that that's wrong. I think whoever's there in that position should keep that position.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Questions, concerns in public?
I have a question for Justin Davis.
Go ahead, man. You got someone coming out.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Veronica Ports, and I'm here standing in proxy for, this week for the disabled. My son has been participating with the rec department for many years, since he's been old enough to participate. And my concern is that the ability for us to successfully enjoy our kids participating at the football fields, soccer fields, is very, very, very concerning to me. I addressed it to Justin. What happened, how it come about, is that I was at the football field. I don't know if you have where the fence is, and the seats are. I have to sit back here at the seats. There is traffic back in front of me throughout the entire game. And then there's a fence in front of that traffic. So basically, I cannot see the games at all. So in the little gate area, I decided to go inside the gate, sitting behind the cheerleaders. And this particular day, I was informed to get out of there. And I understand it's for safety reasons for the cheerleaders, football players, and myself. However, there isn't anywhere for me to excessively sit and enjoy the game. So I addressed it to, I think it was Thomas, Justin's assistant, and he kicked me out of that area. Then he put a chain up on the gate and told me I couldn't sit there. And I said, well, is there a place that you can put me where that I can see? Well, not right now, he said. I'm just doing what I was told to do. And I told him that, well, if I can speak to your director, I would like to. He said, well, he's here and I want to go speak to him. Well, he left me, which was very insulting. He went and got a police officer. This was during the game, and the police officer addressed me in front of everyone. And I told him what happened. So I was told by Thomas that Justin said that he'll be over in about 10 minutes. He was out at the facilities that day. However, the game was over, lights were shut off. Still no Justin. He did not come to address the issue or matter. So I called the rec department repeatedly, day after day after day after day, 2 to 3 weeks straight. And I left my name, my number, and I still didn't get a response from Justin. I didn't get a reply from him. And so I began to, basically you could call it harassment, when I saw him at the facilities, at the parks, to try to talk to him. And it wasn't successful because he was in the middle of doing things out there and he couldn't really hear me. But how else was I supposed to get the matter taken care of? And so baseball season is coming up. My son participates in all of this. There aren't any accessible seats. There's no seating area out there. I myself alone, there's other people that's disabled, walkers, canes, wheelchairs, and what have you. So one day he did come out there, or either he called me, and I said, I would be willing to go out there with you to be a, proxy if you want to see how to set up the facilities. The Wayne County Football Stadium, they have that for the wheelchair accessible seating area. And I said, well, maybe we can attach something onto the benches there. And then he showed up, I think it was during one of the games or whatever, and he said that he would get it taken care of. And then I came to one of the meetings when he presented the new facilities that were coming. I think he told me that they did not have the money to do the accessibilities and that they were ADA compliant, which I know that there's not. All businesses by law have to have accessible entrance, accessible seating, accessible restrooms, which the restrooms are not accessible. I have to leave the park to use the restroom. I cannot use any of the restrooms accessibly there. And I feel that it's just a big matter, and I know that if I have these, complications, I'm pretty sure that others have. And I don't feel that it's fair, and I really don't feel that I was not paid attention to. I didn't even get an apology. But morally, you would say, I'm sorry that this is happening. We'll see what we could do about it. But that's not what I got. I just said, well, he told me that we'll look into it. Not to beat up on him. Just feel like I thought if I bring my opinion, that will give the ideas. Because a lot of people don't see, that this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. If you hear the ideas from the public, which is, I feel this is what it's for, things will be better.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me.
Good afternoon, everybody. I know it feels like a church setting here almost, but my name is Terrell Randolph. A lot of you don't. Coached against Coach Jones here in the rec department for a while. Went to school with Rick. Kind of grew up on the tie here, but I have a lot of concerns, a lot of issues with the rec department. I've been donating my time to the rec department for over 11 years. Sometimes 2 sports, sometimes 2 sports per season. In other words, maybe 2 basketball teams and a football team and stuff like that. chief complaints is I was kind of aware of the situation with Don Dillinger as far as that football thing deal went, and you know, my main concern is with the rec director and his inconsistency, and pretty much I'm just gonna call it how I see it, Justin. You know, you always preach to us coaches about following procedure and protocol. When I know personally you don't do that yourself. Your policies change from day to day. You know, the only thing I ever asked you to do since you've been here was I never asked you to be fair. I just asked you to be consistent. You know, if you're not going to go by policy on Monday, don't turn around and go by policy on Tuesday. You know, we just wanted you to be consistent. And that is, you know, guys, what we don't have. That's why you see the decline in our football teams. You know, we always, you know, as coaches like to think that, you know, coach rooms and the schools are taking all our 11 and 12-year-old kids. That I found that not to be the case, because a couple of years ago when Steve was here, we had the same amount of schools in town, but we had 4 and 5 teams in Major League Football. You know, we had a team coming from Scriven. We had a team coming from Oakland. You know, I'm just, you know, saying to you guys, I know you guys didn't hire Justin, but we are a product of pretty much who we govern, in other words. Because, you know, I ran million-dollar businesses, and I'll have the owners come in today and tell me, hey, listen, Terrell, you're as good as your worst employee. You know, if Justin can't be consistent, you know, we need to find us a rec director who can be consistent. You know, I have documentation of several times that Justin has lied to my face and other people, you know, behind my back. I have audio and video recordings from at least 3 years back up into the current. I've recorded every conversation, closed door conversation, and it's just not Justin. Guys, don't get me wrong, it's just not Justin. I felt when he first came here that he wasn't running the rec department. I felt that certain members of the rec department was running him. And, you know, I'm not in favor of a man losing his job, but I am in favor for something being done to correct these issues. I started a petition a while back to remove Justin Davis and staff, because there's no sense in getting rid of part of the problem if you don't clean up the whole system. I think the whole system needs to be really looked at. And, you know, there's, you know, if you guys want audio and video recordings, I can give them to you. I can play them for you. You know, my son was actually on Justin's team that he took over this year. And there is a policy that states a child must start on offense or defense. And, you know, we as coaches will get drilled for these policies. But 8 games, my child might have played a total of 30 minutes. Didn't start on offense or defense. And I sat there on the bench with him, so I know. I didn't, you know, get out of place because, you know, that was his team. But I just wanted you guys to know this. I brought this up to Justin, and his words was, Coach, well, you know how it is. No, I know what your rules say. If you're not being consistent, Justin, and you know how the public view you in this job. I'm not, you know that. It's no secret. So, you know, man, I think you ought to do what's right and resign, and give our kids that opportunity, man. Because if you can't be consistent, nobody on your staff can be consistent. You know, even you, referees, or anybody. Like I told you, if I can't come to you and ask you to be consistent, there's no way I can come and ask you and make sure your staff is being consistent.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph.
Thank you.
I've been working in the rec department helping out in the rec department for many years. My oldest child is 18, and we started with rec with 7, so I've been here from Steve and everybody, whoever else. And to me, I feel like Justin's doing a good job, because I coach soccer, softball, basketball, and track. Half of these parents that come out here and coach, they don't do that. So they don't deal with Justin on a regular basis. I deal with Justin all the time. I talk to Justin when there's not, and when I'm not coaching. And I feel like he's doing a great job. I mean, you can't please everybody. And that's what everybody wants. He came in with his plan, and to me, that's what he's been sticking with. I mean, I don't know about football, because I don't coach football, and I don't know about baseball. But I feel like that the people that do football and do baseball, they want what they want. But we gotta want what everybody want. We can't just want what one person wants. And we gotta look out for the kids. And I don't feel like everybody's looking out for the kids. Everybody want a jam-up team. Nobody wants to lose. But you can't get a jam-up team. You're not gonna always get the best player on the team. And the way that we're doing everything this year with the rec department, I feel like that's better for everybody, so that everybody can't call this child and say, don't go to the tryouts. Because if you don't go, then I can pick you. Because that's what we've been having years after years. Like last year, softball. We had three pitchers in the league. We only had 3 teams. Had 3 pitchers. One team got both pitchers. I had to make a pitcher because this person chose to be on this team. I made a pitcher, and I won it. Just teaching kids how to do stuff. But that's not what they want to do here. They want to have the best so they can be the best. And we got to quit doing that. We got to take care of all the kids. We got to show the same to one kid that we show to all kids. And I feel like with the rec department, that's what we're doing. I know it's a lot of complaints, but I mean, I fuss. Not saying that everything's right. Yeah, I fuss. Justin knows I fuss. I fuss at Susan. I fuss at Thomas. I fuss at
You fuss at
everybody.
me.
Yeah, I fuss at you. I fuss at everybody, but I feel like something's not going right. I fuss. But a lot of these complaints that I've been hearing and I've been reading in the paper, I feel like that's just a mess. And that we all need to come together and try to make this department better. Not get rid of him, because once we get rid of him, we're going to get somebody else. And what? Same thing going to happen. They ain't going to like this person, and they're going to want to get rid of that person too. So I feel like he's doing a great job. Everybody else might not, but I do.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Appreciate your time.
William Sloan. You know, I usually don't try to get into all this stuff, but I voice my opinion a lot of times out on the ball fields. You know, I've coached back when Steve was here, and I've still been coaching. You know, I've seen a lot of parents want things their way. I volunteered, I think, ever since my daughter was about 5 years old. She's to be 19, so I've been here a lot of years. We've had a big changeover in the rec department, and it's been a smooth transition as far as I could tell, because I coach 2 sports, and you know, I hear all the complaints because I'm out at the field all the time. So a lot of it, you might as well just throw in the trash can because they can't do nothing about it. You know, as far as making things handicap accessible, it takes money. And, you know, the rec department runs on a budget, and that's got to be approved through other people. And I know she needs a place where she can see games and stuff, but it's going to take more than what he can do. Steve couldn't have done it no either. It's got to go through a board to get what she needs. But this rec department, what it needs is a bunch of people that's going to work together. And they've been working as hard as they can. I called Susan up here one night. I didn't know she was still working. She was up here at almost 9 o'clock at night working on schedules for these kids that we as coaches pour into. You know, people have to get on, you won't say this kid don't get to play this much and that one on, but as a coach, I can tell you, when you get into a game, 5 minutes to us is actually about 25 minutes. We can get caught up in a game, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else, that I have to have somebody tell me, hey, this kid hasn't been in the game yet. You know, and I've been coaching a long time. So it ain't about the policy not being followed. It's when you're coaching, you get into a game. So, and I mean, I've seen both sides of the stone out there over the years, and you know what we see is that we need more income to do what we need for the fields and stuff, because they can work and work and work, but they can only do what they got funds to do. And that's the biggest problem we have, is that we need more funds from the county to get to where they can do what people's complaining about. And that's to make the fields better, to make the facilities better. Everything that I've heard complaints about, just about, has been stuff that it's got to take approval for somebody else to get done. As far as the transition at the rec department, I mean, they lost this one, they lost that one, they lost this one, and it's been smooth. I coached soccer, I coached 2 teams a lot of years, and I coached softball. And they've always been consistent right on along with me. If I had a complaint, I went to them. I didn't wait on them to come to me, I went to them. They heard it, and if I got a complaint, I'm gonna come to you. And you know that yourself. But if I don't see eye to eye, I'm gonna come to you. And they always took care of it. So, I don't know what everybody else has been seeing, but I see that a lot of the stuff that needs to be done is gonna take getting money from somewhere else, so it can be brought to where everybody wants it. It ain't gonna take change of staff to do it.